Hello and welcome to my Assessment 3 presentation where I will be discussing the Week 8 topic Global Music. Today I will be informing you all on global music and activism, how the two coincide as a form of protest. To begin with, this quote from Joey A. Tan eagerly sets the mood for what this presentation will seek to explore. Music has played a key role in social activism and various rights movements throughout history. Through political protests and social commentary, artists have used the power of music to share critical messages, inspire action, and achieve lasting change. So, first things first, what is activism, you may ask? Activism is the policy or action of using vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change. But what has this got to do with my presentation? Well, we will get to that in a moment, but first we need to also understand the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was a struggle for social justice that took place mainly during the 1950s and 1960s for Black Americans to gain equal rights under the law in the United States. This leads us to understand the importance of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This act is a landmark civil rights and labor law in the United States that outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and later sexual orientation and gender identity. So why is this all relevant? As Assessment 2 was a research report, I examined music as a tool when paired with social activism. I therefore explored music as a form of protest. I did so as I have a great appreciation for music and how it enables artists to express and educate their audiences on the social injustices they endured during said period of time. It is also important to note that music as a form of protest was incredibly successful in the fight towards the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and is still extremely relevant in today's society. The research question for my research report is as follows. How has global music motivated the successes of the civil rights activism in the United States of America with regards to African American citizens? The two major concepts that stood out to me during Week 8's lecture and set readings were cosmopolitanism and music as a form of protest. To elaborate, cosmopolitanism refers to global citizens to ultimately focus on what we have in common with one another rather than our differences, all the whilst demonstrating appreciation for global popular cultures. This is also a way of performing in a cosmopolitan identity. On the other hand, music as a form of protest is clearly demonstrated throughout my research report and the set readings, as it establishes how artists use global music as an outlet of free speech and expression of issues subject to a certain period of time. An example of this is Eurovision. Week 8 set reading under Global Music, I Got the Mics On, My People Speak on the Rise of Aboriginal Australian Hip-Hop by Ryan Clapham and Benjamin Kelly most definitely reinforces global music as a form of activism. The academic reading eagerly enforces the ideas of cosmopolitanism and music as a form of protest. The reading offers insight to the audience on how Indigenous Australians, like African Americans, have used music to express the oppression felt by both communities, how music itself is the ultimate message. These same concepts are also identifiable with the following academic resources, which are studied vigorously throughout Assessment 2. Source A discusses how music became a vital reference point for Black musicians as it sought to unite communities, attempt to represent oppression, and became an outlet of free speech to unite communities. Source B. The freedom songs performed by activists on the front lines of the civil rights battle were fundamental to the movement's success. Source C. Explores how global music has been used as an anti-establishment rallying point by various political voices. Music itself becomes the message, the power to bring communities together and be used as a form of protest. And Source D. Even when she is singing a jazz standard, the pain of an entire race of people is echoed through the lyrics, and Holiday's minimalist presentation of the songs works as a call to arms, as a social commentary, a truth. When focusing on the key concepts found within the set reading, it became extremely clear that these same concepts were evident throughout the academic sources sourced in my report. To elaborate, both sources demonstrate the inequalities and indifferences both Indigenous Australian and African American citizens endured to the colour of their skin. They both outline how music creates a platform for artists to engage with freedom of speech to connect with their audiences, as well as ideas surrounding music as a form of protest, as well as cosmopolitanism, as music can successfully bring communities together to connect over a common cause. To conclude this presentation, it is indefinitely obvious that the key concepts, cosmopolitanism and music as a form of protest, are explored throughout the set reading and sources used for my report. Generally speaking, this presentation successfully demonstrates how global music is therefore appreciated as a form of activism, a fundamental contribution to the successes of the civil rights movement.